join us in the salute? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I think the only two things we had left, we finally get to have our meeting with the weather and all that, kind of messing us up, but the two things that are, well, three things, I guess. We had some minutes to review from the December 2nd meeting, and then we had the warrant articles to review that we had gotten. There was just a few of those, and then if there was anything else on the budget that anybody else wanted to go back and look. I did notice that the bottom line on the budget changed by a couple $1,000, so at some point I think we should probably vote on the new, at least vote on the new balance at the end of the meeting.
Yes, sir. And the warrant, the operating budget warrant is based on the new number that you see from our last meeting.
Right, and that was reflected in the December 5th version of the budget that you had provided to us. So.
And I can speak to that too, Mr. Chair, as to what those changes are, just so people remember what that is.
Okay, that'd be fine. Whichever we want to do for it. Oh, well.
Besides this, is there any other information that the budget committee received that I wouldn't have in front of me?
I sent out 2 emails with more information. The board received all that too. I have copies if you need.
I'd have
Could I have a copy of the warrant article?
If you have a spare copy, I do.
I have an extra copy for this
Your spare is a line law.
Oh.
Do you have an extra copy of the warrant articles, Mike?
I do.
Oh, because I don't feel like following along on my phone.
There you go.
Thank you.
That's the last one.
You have a phone, where is it?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. No.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Maybe get to
Oh,
my
I
house. You want to sit here?
No, thanks.
I have it.
So on the warrant article, okay, so now these have to be a numeric vote on these, like the ones on the town. So you need a hand
I need a count.
by the town on these. So that's, we should probably start with Article 2. See if the Wakefield School District will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Wakefield School Board and the paraprofessionals union, which calls for the following increases in salaries, benefits, current staffing levels. 2015, 2016, $22,616, and 2016 and 17, $22,186, and further raise and appropriate the sum of $22,616 for the 2015-2016 school year, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits over those of the appropriation at current staffing levels paid in the fiscal school year. And this is recommended by the school board on a vote of 3 to 1. And of course, as part of the collective bargaining agreement, I don't think there's much that we can really change on the.
I have a question. Is this strictly salaries or are there benefits? Are there any changes in language?
There were, what you're seeing for numbers there on the warrant article is based on a 2% increase on the current salary scale, 2% for the 15-16 and 2% for 16-17, plus an additional incentive day. They currently get 7 incentive days, negotiated 8. So that additional day cost is in there as well.
Okay. And no other language change?
Just on bereavement leave, it included, I believe, mother-in-law and father-in-law and siblings.
How did that change?
We were more specific in the wording as to who you can take bereavement leave for.
He's probably,
Should that reflect an abstention as well, that vote? Because I would have to abstain at this level.
Well, I put the school board recommendation because you left, so you weren't there to vote, so this was the actual vote, 3-1.
Good point.
oh, okay, yeah, I was curious about that, yeah.
And now would I vote just to represent the school board's vote? Okay.
Well, you would probably be in the school board representative, that you would represent the will of the school board, apparently theirs was.
But is he asking if he should abstain because his wife is a para?
But
Is
I
that what
kind
you're
of
asking?
feel like I should.
I would, but
Yeah,
that's,
yeah. You would want to,
Yeah.
but your count would come under the budget committee's count, I believe, since you're sitting in as the school board representative on the budget committee. So your votes this evening are for budget committee recommendations.
Okay.
So you can abstain and we record it as one abstention.
But if I wanted to reflect the will of the school board, I would want to vote in the affirmative. I don't know.
And then you still want to abstain.
I'm content to abstain.
That's a better call.
Okay, that's fine.
make a motion to approve this if there's no other questions.
Any more discussion? Second by Connie. All in favor, raise your hand.
7.
7, none opposed, and Ralph's going to abstain.
I will. I'll vote for abstain.
Now we discussed noting that in the minutes, and that particular situation, Ralph would abstain from that one.
Maybe I'll get to abstain for the rest of them.
Article 3, shall the Wakefield School District, if Article 2 is defeated, authorize the school board to call one special meeting and its option to address Article 2 costs only. Majority vote required. The school board recommends this appropriation 4 to nothing with 1 abstention. Budget committee recommends this appropriation. Any discussion on Article 3 to, someone want to make a motion on Article 3?
Make that motion.
I have discussion.
Yes.
This is very costly. Okay, thank you. This is very costly if you do decide to go to a special meeting. We did that once, and I forget what it cost, but it was quite a bit, right, Connie? So I don't know if this is a good idea, to have it in here.
Which one was the special meeting for? Was that for the,
Paris, who's Paris? We called a special meeting.
have we ever had to call a special meeting for one of these situations? On this one, was it?
With Paris, yeah, originally. I mean, it's such a little money, I don't see why it's not gonna pass.
Right.
You know. But just, like I said, I don't remember what it was, $6,000-7,000 maybe to have that meeting. Because you had to have the supervisors there.
We had to have everything.
It was really,
Well, it only authorizes the school board to hold a special meeting. It doesn't say that they have to do it. I mean, it's an option that they have the ability. I mean, there could be a discussion at the school board level. I mean, it just leaves the option on the table for them to have that.
I guess my understanding was this is part of a process, that if 2 is defeated, you go back to negotiations. Without that meeting, wouldn't you be kind of derailed?
Without the meeting, you would wait till the following year to put on a warrant. This would give us an idea, this would give us an opportunity to renegotiate and bring it to the public again prior to going through a full year of negotiations again, prior to getting on the ballot the following spring.
So if you did have this meeting and you're able to work this out quickly, it would be cheaper than going the full year.
Potentially.
If you worked it out and then had a special.
The special meeting, I see this as one of the necessary tools. I think it's standard, and this is somewhat boilerplate.
I know when I was at the board, we decided not to put these in because of the cost of the barrel. And the town, in fact, the tax rate was set late because of the special meeting. Remember that?
Yes,
I don't think it's a good idea, but, you know, everybody has their own vote. All vote?
Any more discussion on Article 3?
My opinion is I put the trust in the school board if they want to have this meeting or not. I think it's more in their purview to decide about this than mine.
Okay, seeing no more discussion. Everyone in favor of Article 3, raise your hand. Opposed? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah,
Let's go back to in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6 in favor,
opposed,
1.
abstentions, and one
and
abstention.
Okay.
Article 4, shall the Wakefield School District vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant article and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget, posted with the warrant, or as amended by vote of the first session for the purpose set forth. Now, this figure is correct, right, Mr. Percy? This is the,
The $9,082,032?
yes,
Yes, that is based on the December 5th proposed operating budget number, which has the adjustments in it, and that also includes our revenues of $273,000. So it's a gross appropriated budget.
should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $9,079,670, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Wakefield School District or by law, or the governing body will hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40, 13, 10, and 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Note the total operating budget will be offset by revenues of $273,000, leaving a net budget amount of $8,809,032, RSA 32.5, Section 3. This article does not include appropriations in any other warrant articles. Note the total default budget will be offset by revenues of $273,000, leaving a net budget amount of $8,806,670, RSA 32.5, Section 3. This article does not include appropriation in any other warrant articles. School board recommends this appropriation 5-0.
Has that always been worded like that, and lengthy?
No.
Because that's going to confuse people completely.
I have a problem with the way it's worded. In fact, I did some investigation on it, and I looked at 25 different schools, and I've got 10 here. Of course, this is 213, but I called DRA, and there hasn't been any law change. None of them included revenues in the warrant article, not one of them, not one school.
Okay, can we get a second on that then for discussion purposes?
I'll second.
For
I didn't hear the
motion and a second?
Who was
I didn't-
Who made the motion?
I just asked the question.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Dave,
And I'll second.
second Louise. I was kind of curious about that.
I think it's going to confuse people. And like I said, I haven't found one school that uses that kind of language, includes the revenues in the warrant article. I know the school board's had discussion about this, but I'm still not convinced that this is the way it should be written.
So on whose recommendation is it written this way?
It's specific to the RSA. It's the recommendation of our senior consultants at MRI. It's a recommendation from the DRA, and it's a recommendation of 2 district attorneys.
Did you
I've done
talk
my
to?
lengthy research on this because I had a hard time wrapping my head around it too, because it's never been done this way. However, it's specific in the RSA that this is how it should be written. So I did my best at writing it so it would be as clear as possible in the notes, but you are expected to include your revenues and your expenditures as a gross budget when you're writing your warrants according to the RSA.
he also cited the RSA.
But the RSA doesn't say you have to include the revenues.
Did
Says
you
you
read
have to-
the RSA?
I did read the RSA.
So DRA reviewed that and said that it had to have the, had the notes,
Yeah, has TRA looked at these?
yes, I'm sorry.
So, based on the approval of the figures, I still have to submit the wording to DRA. DRA will look at the actual warrant wording. They don't necessarily look at the notes. It's the warrant wording that they look at. So the warrant wording is specific to what's required. The notes are an option for us to explain how the figures come about. And I had called DRA and asked specifically, how did we get through not doing this for years? And the response was, I'm not sure. I even asked our auditors the same question, and the response was, I don't know, but this is how you should be doing it. So when I read the RSA, I want to make sure that we're following that to a T, and yes, it's going to be new, but I feel that it's actually a more transparent way of showing our budget, and showing all of your expenses and your revenues, and really getting permission from the voters to take in those revenues and go through your expenses.
Who you talked to at TRA?
Her name was Shelley. Heather Clark is our rep, I believe, but Shelley is her supervisor.
Ralph?
And I think, you know, if we weren't aware of it as a town or a school district in the past, now that we are aware of the RSA and the wording of it, I think I could accurately reflect the school board's sentiment that willingly and knowingly violating an RSA isn't what we want to encourage. So now that we're aware of the RSA and the wording of it, I think we recommended that.
So I guess,
Norma?
I'm sorry.
I do believe Dover is taking the same route that we're taking in theirs this year as well. There was an article in Monsters on that. I can send you that link if you'd like. But I believe they're doing the same thing with their warrant articles that Wakefield is doing as well. They're taking the recommendation and doing it per the RSA.
And that's Dover, you said?
That was Dover, yeah.
Dover has a city council, they don't have a,
Well, I'll send you the link. They're doing the same exact thing we're
there's
doing.
Wyndham and Claremont and, well, there's 9 others here that aren't doing it. So they're all, Londonderry, so they're all doing it wrong too.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd be more than happy just for the budget committee, I'll read the RSA. So it's very clear.
Yeah.
It says, all appropriations recommended shall be stipulated on a gross basis showing anticipated revenues from all sources, including grants, gifts, bequests, and bond issues, which shall be shown as offsetting revenues to appropriations affected. So we're showing our revenues that are offsetting our appropriations.
Does that say that will appear on the warrant article?
No, it doesn't say that
Exactly.
specifically.
It almost sounds like, it almost sounds in part like when we were applying for grants, we had to, if we were applying for a 50-50 grant, when we wrote the warrant article, we had to apply for the entire amount of money, even though we were being reimbursed for half of it. They wanted us to show the full amount. It almost sounds like the same,
They would have
train
to
of thought,
include
but
it in there.
but you can almost understand where it makes it so much longer for people to, you know, when people are voting. And yes, Connie?
So it doesn't say that it has to be on the warrant article, but is that the choice that the school board has made to put it there? So, but it doesn't have to be, because it doesn't say that it has to be on the RSA.
I think it's more transparent this way, if you put it in.
To answer the question, I was told specifically that this is how it should be done.
Oh, okay.
And that was by 2 of our district attorneys, by DRA, and by our auditor and our senior consultants. So
Okay.
I'm
I just
I
wondered
question
where
it
it didn't say
big
that.
time,
Mhm.
because I do feel it's going to be confusing, but I've tried my best here to lay it out with some of the bold wording and so forth, and after reviewing it and questioning it over and over again and asking who I consider the right people to ask, knowing this, I feel that we should be doing this because it is more transparent and it is saying to the, asking the voters, these are all the monies that come through our school district, and they should know that. But it will be confusing, at least for the first year or the second year, and maybe the third, but once people start getting used to it. And
I don't
think-
have a problem with it, just that it
Yeah.
will be confusing.
Well,
Hopefully during the deliberative session, everything, these wrinkles could get ironed out and explained and the board can, we all can talk to the folks in town about why this is happening and, plan on spending a few extra minutes in the voting.
okay.
On my copy, I put a kind of a little arrow up next to the 9 million figure, so I can refer to it quickly because it's buried up there at the top. But actually, the bottom line is 8,806,000 because that's what is raised by taxes, right?
That's your default, yes.
So, or
Proposed is
809, so the way it appears to me is it does put the emphasis on the amount being raised by taxes, but honestly, I think 95% of the voters are gonna go in and say, do we want a school? Yes, no. They're not gonna go through all this because they trust the school board and us to do that, and you. So I don't see an issue with it. I think it looks great.
Well,
How can you have the revenues in the default budget though?
You have to include those as well, because regardless of what you have for a default operating budget, you're still receiving that same revenue.
But the default budget didn't have those in there originally, so you're adding it to it?
No,
To a
they were
default?
only in
The revenues aren't usually in there.
the revenues, because they haven't been highlighted in the warrant. In your default, what you've been approving for your default is your operating default budget.
Right.
It's your expenses, however, we have not been noting the revenues,
Revenues.
which are grant monies.
Right.
so the revenues are still the same and they're still there. Okay.
I just, I see the figures and I'm just afraid it's gonna scare people off from voting for the budget. That's the main thing.
I don't disagree with you at all.
Any more discussion on the wording of Article 4?
Make a motion that we move that article as written.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. Looks like everybody. And none opposed, no abstentions. Article 5, shall the voters,
Before we move on, we had a motion to recommend the appropriation,
yes,
and a second.
yes,
Motion by Dave with a second by Lisa.
right.
And we had a second motion.
Yeah, well, we just kind of glossed over that and did the vote. We didn't really need that second motion because we did the motion and the second, and we had our lengthy
I
discussion.
just
and-
wanted to make sure.
Right.
I'm not
I
gonna
think I
make
was
mention
moving
of
the
this.
question.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make mention of that. I'm gonna eliminate the second
The
motion.
second, right,
Okay,
sorry.
that's all right. I just,
Article 5, shall the voters of the Wakefield School District adopt a SAU budget of $1,749,392 for the forthcoming fiscal year, in which $525,757 are assigned to the school budget of the Wakefield School District. This year's adjusted budget of $1,735,610 with $517,961 assigned to the school budget of Wakefield School District will be adopted if the article does not receive a majority vote of all the school district voters voting in this school administrative unit. Then we have the same notes. The total SAU budget will be offset by revenues of $820,000, leaving a net budget amount of $929,392 to be apportioned between the Wakefield and Milton school districts, with $525,757 assigned to the Wakefield School District, RSA 32.5, Section 3. Note the total default SAU budget will be offset by revenues of $820,000, leaving a net budget amount of $929. It says 915, so I'm kinda, my mind is, threw me a curve
Is it
there.
supposed to be 29 or 15?
15.
$915,610 to be apportioned between the Wakefield and Milton school districts, with $517,961 assigned to the Wakefield School District, RSA 32-5, Section 3. School board recommends this appropriation 4-1. Now, why who voted against that?
Me, probably.
Was
Oh, no, actually, I think Mr. Brown may have.
That was you.
It was me?
That was
We all remember, Ralph.
Thank you.
welcome. Don't like to move that article.
So moved.
And someone seconded it,
I'll second it.
second by Dave. Any discussion on that article? I guess we need to change one of those numbers. It's gonna be the 915,000.
Yeah, it should
Got
read,
messed up my head there a minute.
sorry,
That's
copy
okay.
paste, $915,610.
Okay. Someone told me the other day that
That
Christmas
whole thing is there.
is the only time you can get jet lag without ever going anywhere.
All right, which
Oh,
number is
okay.
being corrected?
915,000.
The bottom,
Well,
the bottom
The
number.
written one.
915 is correct,
Yes.
so this 929 is not.
Oh,
The
okay.
spelled out word
Gotcha.
is not.
Why
correct.
didn't
And it's supposed to be, instead
Oh,
of
I see.
392, it's supposed to be 610.
I see what happened. The original budget figure was just brought down from the top line.
That was my fault.
Oh, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm
No, I-
just trying to see where I can see that number before.
Yeah.
So I should make that motion with that correction of the written thing, or?
Yeah, but I think,
Yes,
Okay.
I'll second.
Deb will correct that in the, note that in the minutes.
Good catch.
Let's see. Any more discussion on that?
Was there another number that needed to be fixed?
I don't think so. I think that was the only one.
Just the one, the 929 should be 915.
Yes.
610.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing any more discussion on that. All in favor, raise your hands.
So that's 8 in favor.
And any opposed or abstentions?
I'm opposed, but I have to vote the way the school board will.
You get to be on both sides of it. You voted again.
What offense?
It's a good thing the names aren't listed, because you'd have
Mixed
Fog here and
messages
Fog
right
there.
What a
Fog
great,
against.
what a great,
You're
They'd
sending me
think Fog
mixed
couldn't make up his
messages.
mind.
well, we know.
I'll flop to the other side later.
I voted for it before I voted against it. I was conflicted. Okay, Article 6. To see if the Wakefield School District will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be placed in the expendable trust fund previously established for the purpose of updating and improving security at the Fall School. This appropriation is in addition to Article 4 of the operating budget. School Board recommends this appropriation 5-0.
I'll move the question. And then the second.
And second by Dave.
So,
Any discussion?
yeah,
I knew it.
I was wanted to look at there's 54,000 in there right now.
As of November 30th.
Yeah. So, do you need that much money for security? What does it entail? I mean, I don't want you to tell me what you're doing, but I mean, like, every year, do you have to spend that much money? Or are you
One
just
sizable,
building it up?
I think there's one sizable expense that's being considered to use this money and more monies next year, so it's an ongoing,
Okay,
it's additional monies to an
so
ongoing.
this money that's in here, you have a sizable expense that's going to take up a lot of it,
It would take up all of that money,
all of that money.
and then some, if I'm,
Yes.
So what was the balance prior to this? So I'm guessing, I'm asking, what is spent in 2014 on the security?
I can't answer that question, but maybe Mr. Tursi could. Maybe.
Norma, did you have something?
No.
Okay.
No,
I-
stay awake.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
No, it's boring or anything. I just-
2014, we spent close to $95,000. And then this year, we put another $50,000 into that fund. And for next year, we're requesting an additional $50,000.
So
And
you
with
spent,
the 54 and the $50,000, that would complete phase one of a large project.
Priscilla, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. You didn't use any of that money to do any part of the phases of the 3 or 5 phases? Is it 5 phase? 4 phase? You didn't use any of it for any of the first phase? I know you put it out to bid several times, and or maybe twice, didn't get the bid you wanted for the whole phase of 1, but I was wondering why you didn't do part of the phase if it was so important to do those windows. It's out there in the public, so I can say windows, it's something to discuss. So I was just wondering why you didn't at least do some of those windows around the office anyways, if it was so important to do these windows.
Well, I believe the reason is the number that we got wouldn't get touched with the money's already set aside.
So is
Came in
this,
much higher for solar than we expected.
right, so you're asking for another 50,000 to do these windows. I mean, it was so important to get these done last year, and maybe 3 or 4 years before you actually do it. Because it's what, 190,000 or something you have?
You know, with the 54 and the 50,000, we'd be able to do the first phase.
You do the first phase. So you haven't rethought doing that project at all? You're still planning to do those windows?
I think we've considered it, putting it back out to bid again to try to get better numbers and more bids. But if,
I'm just questioning doing the windows in the first place. I mean, I questioned it last year because not one school shooting has been, nobody's shot through windows, so it seemed silly to me then. And we took
seemed to look, and it started the entry door.
entry door, not windows. Not windows. This warrant article originally, not this particular one, but the money was originally for room renovations. Renovating the rooms, we had different phases, and you were going to stop after year 1 or year 2 and start back with the room renovations. You have no room renovation warrant article on here. Are you just going to drop the renovations of the rooms?
I think they're continuing
No,
with
they're
some
not.
renovations.
You don't have a warrant article on it.
Well, I don't know all of the particulars, but I think there has been some more renovating going on around the school.
This is
Well,
renovating
you
rooms.
spent $9,500.
1,000. Oh,
That
pardon
was
me.
in security.
Pardon me.
That was specific to security.
To security. Before that, Connie, we had a phase, we did the asbestos removal first, and then we did the room renovations. We're going to keep going right up to the junior high, because the junior high will be 20 years old this year, and the rugs are pretty bad up there, so I wonder why you're not doing the room renovations.
I think the gymnasium was just renovated this past year, so there has been renovations going on in the
I'm
school.
talking about room renovations, the phases that are listed.
The gymnasium's big room.
Well,
I have no,
I know you can't answer that question, but that's a question that I do have as a budget committee member.
and we can have an answer for the delivery executive session?
That'd be nice.
Do you have any expectations of how much the ultimate bill is gonna be for security? I mean, it's been 4 years since that crime took place that sparked this, and there haven't been any more incidents, fortunately, but I mean, is this, you know,
I think it was $300,000.
the $300,000 in security upgrades for the building?
For the windows?
Pretty close to it. Within 5 or 7,000, I think, from what I remember.
Is there any other consideration on how better to upgrade the security without doing windows? Is that your only plan?
I don't think it's the only plan, but it is the plan on the table.
It's the only plan I've heard about.
Mr. Tercey?
All we've gone out for to bid is a specific section of the school, not the entire school. We just started with a specific section. It came out to $104,000 was the bid that we received. So the 50,000 and the 54. Because when we went out to bid, it was just specific to the areas that we felt were most important. We would do the entire school with the upgraded windows.
So I don't see 293 somewhere online.
Might have just replacement windows. But what this warrant's built off of is a specific section of the school that came in at a bid of $104,000.
Do you think that should be priority, the windows? Am I putting you on the spot?
Yes.
Do you think that should be?
Well, when this
I'm just
began to-
thinking room renovations, I mean, at some point, it's like not taking care of the infrastructure.
Well, we currently have 8,000 left in, it's in the same trust, the asbestos abatement and renovations.
Right.
So, I haven't been part of the discussion for renovations.
Bob has a plan on how it was all going to be completed, in phases. And then the whole Sandy Hook thing came in, and that got put on the back burner while you tried to make this place as secure as possible, given the $100,000. And, continuing it, doing windows, I don't know, that's my thought.
Well, there's a lot of different aspects of that, a lot of different things that have to be done all at once, I'm sure. But I just, okay.
I think we're gonna get some benefits not related to security by this estimate of this 104,000 is gonna do work on the school that will make it more energy efficient. Right now, we're enjoying low prices, but most of us know that when they're low, the only way they can go is up. So when we're back to $4 a gallon fuel, some of this 104,000 is going to result in energy savings and savings to taxpayers in the end.
You could probably replace all the windows in the school for $104,000 if they want security windows.
Right, we can, Lucy, yes.
By replacing the windows, is that going to offset anything that would, if we're talking about upgrading in phases, would you still have to do these certain upgrades if you're doing windows as well? I mean, was it only rugs or carpets or floors? I mean, is it gonna help in the long run if the windows are replaced?
Well, I think eventually the windows have to be replaced anyway, but with security windows, the price they are extremely expensive. And, replace the windows at a reasonable price. The renovation went from carpet to ceiling.
Well,
I would have to say that the safety windows, keyword is safety, and if it was my money, I would be spending on making sure that my children are safe in the school building.
well, I think, well, of course, we all want everybody to be as safe as possible. I mean, I know that when this started, we got a group of safety and security professionals together, the police department, some other security people, and put a team together, and they came up with some ideas, and then the school board moved forward with the plan, with that. Now, have we been in touch, as the school board been in touch with those people to do an upgraded plan or a review of where the plan stands now from the plan that they presented. Have you guys been back in touch with that committee that presented the safety upgrades to review that at all with them? Or, I mean, you know, that might be an option to, you know, just to get with the police department and those safety people and, you know, get a plan. But I mean, the other thing too, I mean, like Dave mentions, energy efficiency and stuff, I mean, we can use the security money to do the windows and make them safer. They do need to be replaced anyway, probably, but we could also use maintenance projects and maintenance money to improve security at the same time. I mean, there's nothing saying that we have to, you know, separate those out. We can you know, we could use the whole plan to work in the same direction, basically. I just didn't realize it was gonna be a $250,000 to $500,000 project to, you know, to make the school safe enough.
Those windows were never on the original police and fire recommendations.
I never saw it.
But I don't think the school board knew that it was gonna be as costly either.
No.
For those windows. So that's why I was wondering, maybe you wanna rethink it and not put in that super expensive windows.
Dave?
My question is, I don't want to diverge from the subject but too much, but we keep talking about renovations. We're in the process of pulling up these floor tiles that were asbestos. And the problem was when you take up the rug, you expose these floor tiles. We've done some of that. How
We've
much?
done it all.
Is
There's
it
no
all done?
asbestos left,
Is all the asbestos done?
yes.
Yes.
That is something that we would run into with replacing the windows, and that $104,000 for that first phase includes the asbestos abatement around the windows.
Oh,
I thought you were talking about floor.
The putty.
Yes.
So if the putty's flaking out of the windows, you're making friable asbestos in the room.
So, I just want to piggyback on what Dave was saying. What we're focusing on is the envelope of the school. You see that we're doing the substantial roof project, and then we're also talking about windows. So I personally would like to see the envelope work done prior to doing renovations on the interior, because that's your shell.
And you do have your building committee meetings too, that they probably are looking at.
I guess we've talked about the fact that we don't want to discuss the specifics of security. We keep that limited to the school board. And I see a vote of 5-0 from the school board on this, so I think they know what they need to do.
Security's been discussed, these windows in open meetings, so.
Yeah, I realize that, but I don't want to dig into the details too much.
But just to repeat, the windows were not discussed with
There
the fire
weren't a
committee, please?
recommendation from the group that got together right after Sandy Hook. Windows weren't part of the recommendation.
My recollection is that we were talking about working on the existing windows versus replacing them. And I think I know what they were talking about, but I don't want to ask. And the idea is, if you got a car that's ready to be crushed, you don't put brand new snow tires on it. Better to go buy a new car than put the good tires on it. That's the way I look at this project. I think I know what they're talking about. They could have done something in the old windows, there would have been money thrown away when you put in the new windows. So yeah, you could have spent $20,000 and get your security box checked, but all that would be out in the dumpster when you change windows.
Okay, any more discussion on Article 6? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your hand.
5?
Opposed? Abstentions? All set. Article 7.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry.
5-2.
5-3.
5-3.
5-3. Moving along, Article 7, See if the Wakefield School District will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $150,000 to be placed in an expendable trust fund previously established for the addition of a parking lot at the Fall School. Note, this appropriation is in addition to Article 4 of the operating budget, majority vote required. This school board recommends this appropriation 5-0.
I'll move the question for discussion.
Moved by Connie, second by Dave.
So there's $75,000 in there now.
Yes, there is. That will bring it to $225,000.
There's 6 of that's gonna come out of it. 6 out of the 75 should be moved out of that,
Why is that?
because it was tree removal up to $6,000.
And it hasn't hit the expense yet?
It
Hasn't hit?
hasn't had a public hearing and stuff like that, so it hasn't got through the whole process.
Yeah, I wonder why you haven't. You've had ample opportunity to have a public hearing, 3 meetings. You haven't done it yet.
Well, every time we talk about it, it's a public hearing, but it's not an official public
You
hearing.
haven't done it. You haven't scheduled a public hearing.
And that was for tree removal? That was the one for tree removal.
It's an often maintenance repair now, right? That's expensive.
It came out of a different line.
Oh,
but
And the
it's-
operating budget.
Correct.
We have,
6,600.
we have talked about, and I think there is a public meeting that's going to be scheduled, a public hearing to be scheduled for that and the
January?
roof issues as well.
It's been some time since we talked about that parking lot. Could someone kind of review that for the budget committee, the total cost of it, what have we done so far? Can we get a summary on that? Where are we going with this?
It should cost under $250,000. There's bids that were close to that, and some bids that didn't hit the $200,000. But process is, engineers, we've put out an RFP to have an engineer look at the design and lay it out so that any competitive bidder can come forward and have the same information to provide a competitive bid on the rest of it. Excavating, paving, storm management measures, and lighting and painting the lines. So
Right, you figure of less than, you're saying it should cost less than 250. Where are you getting that figure from? Is any kind of an architect's estimate or engineer's estimate or something?
Well, there was estimates given to me from 4 different earth movers, and I took the average of those 4 different bids, and 6 different paving companies, and 2 different line companies, painting companies. So there was just, using the guidance of the folks in the profession, those numbers calculated.
Are these in the form of like standing on the street corner estimates or written and submitted to the school board estimates?
They were submitted to the school board.
Okay. So this is documented.
There's proposals provided to the schools.
There were 3 documented RFPs provided to the school board. We did go through and look at all 3 of them and kind of averaged it out to where we thought, we know it's not gonna cost $500,000, but we know it's not gonna cost less than, $200,000. So we kind of came in with a figure that we knew would be able to complete the project with.
So how many spaces will that give you roughly? Any idea of like how many more parking spaces you want? And
I don't remember off the top.
It's a total of 165 spots.
would add it to what you have, I mean,
No,
combined?
a total,
Okay.
with the design that was approved by the school.
And then you got the road going back out to Gary Road or Burrows?
No, everything's going on to Gary.
Right.
And Burrows.
Okay.
There's,
So it comes out to that intersection out there near, will that make it kind of like a 4-way intersection out there where it comes into like a T now?
Yeah, the chief came over, the police chief came over, looked at the traffic pattern, thought the traffic pattern was going to be the best traffic pattern that could be utilized. There'll actually be, off the parking lot, there'll be 2 exits, and then the 3rd exit for the bus is the one that comes close to the building and is existing. So the stop sign would move out to where Burroughs Avenue meets Gary Road, and it would be a 4-way stop.
Do you have a drawing?
There is a drawing somewhere along the line, but we don't have a copy of the RFP or anything like that. I think Bill Williams could probably, somebody from the budget committee there to come down and talk with them. Thank you, so.
No, I mean, it was, that would come here.
That's,
Mr.
That
President,
may be the original
that's
design,
the
not
original,
Mr.
that's all
Bob's
that's going
design.
on.
Okay, so that there's no, there's a retention pond in the center of the parking lot. That's not the design that was approved by the school board, or adopted by the school.
oh, this is important.
But you have a
That's a conceptual plan.
professionally designed plan.
The Harriman gave us 4 different concepts,
Okay.
and then that was chosen, and then the first RFP that went out asked the bidders to design something based on that conceptual design. So then some design, my design came forward, and the school board saw that and accepted that as opposed to that conceptual design.
Yeah, because what he was saying, it sounded like the road was gonna come out to a 4-way intersection over here, so it must be a little different.
It would be one exit, the east exit would be this side of the fire hydrant.
So the plan you're operating on is not one of the 4 submitted by Harriman?
That's correct. All 4 that were submitted by Harriman were conceptual designs only, and we chose one conceptual design to go forward with, and then the RFP was developed.
I have a lot of faith in professionals, but I have no objections to local talent either. So the area, the number of parking spots, and the miles of lines painted is going to be approximately the same, even with your design. So,
My design would have 16 extra parking spots. And it's
okay,
about
so,
the buses.
so it wouldn't change the scope of work that much, it just rearranges it.
The only change was approximately 1,600 additional square feet of pavement. So instead of having the retention pond in the center, there'd be, that retention wouldn't happen in the center of the parking lot. It would be moved to the outside perimeters of the parking lot, which would enable more paving, more spaces.
I'm just asking these questions, and it sounds like I'm grilling you over to some people perhaps, but I'm asking these questions because it's the Budget Committee's responsibility not to re-engineer this plan, but it's the Budget Committee's responsibility to know that we're not buying into a $500,000 project that's being sold as a $250,000 project. And I guess at this point, I'm satisfied that it is not going to be a $500,000 project.
It would be if we went all the way around the building, paved and reclaimed the existing parking lot, stuff like that. Those numbers came up with an idea that everything should be done all at once, and maybe you should get bonded and stuff like that. That's how those numbers came forward.
Well, I think so, I'm not alone in the feeling that in Washington, things are done a lot different. They don't use any local talent, and every project seems to triple in price before it's done, and the taxpayers pick up the tab. And I hope with, having our arms around this local situation, I hope it doesn't, I wouldn't want to be part of one of these Washington projects that runs away with it. Because I can't think of anything that hasn't cost 3 times as much as they said in the beginning.
That's not the big tick.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Right.
So,
Okay, I'm going to go through a chain of events, but first of all, I have to preface it by saying during this whole process with the parking lot, the facilities director, the custodian, and the superintendent were continuously asking that this work be sent out as a complete package and not piecemeal. In fact, the superintendent recommended that the board, this was back in June, that the board go to the community during budget with a specific plan, phase, and cost, devise a warrant article with a specific plan and phases. this was ignored by the board, and they started out with a conceptual plan that they paid Harriman for $5,000. It was not an engineering plan, it was a conceptual plan. And then the board approved SK1, which is that plan I just showed to Dave. Sorry, Dave. And then it went out to bid, and Ralph thought that the plan asked for, the RFP actually asked for the person bidding, or the people bidding, to do their own design. Well, they'd already voted on SK1, so I don't know. That's what he thought anyway. So they got 3 bids in. And,
Second time around. Okay. First time around, we get 2 bids.
sorry, 2 bids first time around. Second time around was 3 bids. And there was some question about whether or not Ralph was able to bid because he was on the school board, and they got information from their attorney saying that it was perfectly fine to him bid, that there wasn't a conflict of interest. So then, trying to get this straight, they sent out an RFP, 3 bids. Mr. Fogg was the cheapest, so the board decided to change this plan and go with Mr. Fogg's design, which caused them to have to send it back out to be rebid because it was a new design. But in the process of all this, they had tree removal and stumpage that they put out in an RFP. They got 1 bid. They weren't happy with that. They wanted to have more than 1 bid because, granted, their policy says 3 bids whenever feasible. So they weren't happy with the first bid, and they thought it was a little high for stumping and tree removal. So they put it out again. They still got 1 bid. They rejected the first bid. They did not reject the second bid, but then they decided to put it out for just tree removal and not stumpage. Well, no bids came into the superintendent's office, and when Steve, who was chair at the time, asked Mr. Tercey if there were any bids, he said there aren't any. Well, Ralph managed to hand over or slide over an envelope with a bid in it. Now, the bid process is very stringent. You have to have the bids into the SAU in a certain time frame. You have to meet the RFPs. This was done after the bidding was closed. But the board decided to vote on this removal of the trees. And Dale Colbath removed the trees along with Mr. Fogg. He was over there removing them too. Now, whether Mr. Fogg got paid or not, I don't know. Whether Mr. Fogg got the trees or not, I don't know. But that was $6,000. And then they went back out and decided that this bid or design of Ralph couldn't go out to bid yet because they weren't happy with, or Ralph wasn't happy anyways, with the 14-page RFP that the school board attorneys had designed some time ago or written, that there was too much demand for information. So they sent it to the attorneys pared it down to 7 pages. And then at the last school board meeting, Mr. Fogg was still not happy with some of the wording and the language and the phrases. So it's gone back to the attorneys once again. And so we're just sitting on, this is the process. So I'm questioning, why are we giving these people $150,000 when they didn't spend the $75,000 in the first place? No way in my mind.
So,
Am I wrong in any of my scenario, Ralph?
Yeah, a couple of things.
Okay.
You weren't quite accurate. but,
Could you correct it?
The last thing you said was it's gone back to the attorney for review on the RFP again. I don't believe it has, but.
It hasn't? You didn't like the language, though?
Oh, of course I didn't like the language. It was very, to me, I'm a guardian of people's private matters. And when somebody, in the first RFP, it didn't seem as though there were requests for financial statements and things like that. With the second RFP, that wording was in there. And I was curious if I didn't say this, but in my mind I was thinking, well, if it wasn't in the first set of RFPs, you know, it wasn't recommended by the attorney to begin with, why is it in the next round of the RFPs? Just, I would want to protect anybody's privacy on these financial matters. And I would certainly want to break down barriers that would inhibit or prohibit some potential bidders from taking part in the competitive bid process. In my mind, there's no reason why somebody should be scared away from taking part in a competitive bid process.
But this scenario that I just, if you had done what the facilities director, the custodian, and the superintendent had suggested in the first place, it would have gone out as a full package project instead of piecemealing it, where it's gotten really nowhere. I mean, you probably spent more on throwing out RFPs than anything else.
Do you think we spent more on RFPs than we did in savings from the first bid? And this, you know, the first time it went around, we received one bid. And I was fully aware of the policy that requires 3 bids. I thought the number was high, but that wasn't the true reason why I had wanted it to go back out to bid. I went back out to bid a second time, the same person did again,
Right.
$100 more. The third time it went around, we removed the stumps from the RFP because in a real world, a real application, if you're going to excavate earth, you're going to take any stump that's in that pile of dirt. So why, if you're trying to have trees removed, and most loggers that I know don't come in and cut trees and then stump the property, they come in and they take the trees.
Well, you guys were the one that decided to put it out as a tree cut and stumpage.
The fact is, Priscilla, we saved $5,900 tax dollars by having Mr. Colwood do the job.
You haven't, because you still haven't had the stumpage, and the stumpage, I understand, is like $300 a load. So it's hard to say what it was. But this is besides the
So
point.
without getting too far into
Yeah.
detail, so your overall point would maybe would be that the organization and the planning maybe not, is maybe not complete, might not be a
Well,
sufficiently complete plan to invest
But
in. Right, this-
remember when the town came before us, and they were gonna do some paving from Carroll? They had an estimate from Carroll on a piece of paper we looked at. We knew exactly what it was gonna cost for each road to do that paving. Do they have a cohesive plan? Are they where are they getting the number of $150? I mean, $150,000? Because Ralph has spoken to people? Is that a plan?
Okay, yeah, I understand. So, Connie, yes.
So, actually, the budget committee, can we do anything about that $150,000, or does that have to be a deliberative session?
Well, I mean, you can change it at the deliberative session, you know, we
Yeah,
all
you
can
can
vote
zero
our,
out
we
that
can
amount.
vote our conscience, obviously, at this
But the
vote.
budget committee can't zero out that, can they?
Oh, we could make a recommendation to change the amount, yes.
So all we can do is recommend that voters either,
Yeah.
We could recommend an amount, I believe, at the,
Norman's gonna
oh, I'm sorry, Norma, yes.
I totally understand your feelings towards this. This parking lot project was a fiasco. There was
Yeah,
no
you've been
organization, nothing was done correctly, nobody took the advice of the superintendent, who obviously knew what he was talking about. And going forward, we don't want that to happen. We want to be able to finish the parking lot in the coming spring, summer, when the kids are out of school, obviously, for safety reasons for the children, more parking, to make it a little bit safer around here with the buses and all the cars coming and going. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's perfect, I understand it looked like a fiasco. And going forward, we do have a plan, and we are going to get this project completed, and we're not gonna go back and forth with 50,000 RFPs. It's gonna be done. It's gonna be done in a timely manner. This is what we're projecting for the
Well,
upcoming
safety
school
was a
year.
huge, I mean, when the property came up, I mean, safety was a huge
It's a
concern,
huge issue.
you know, about it.
Right.
So,
Then I think we should put this 150 on the back burner, let them work this year to come and bring us a plan. I mean, she says that it's one person out of a 5-member board, so even though she says it's not gonna be done like that, I say we put this 150,000 on the back burner, let them come before us next year with a cohesive plan. They've got a whole year to work on it and bring it forward.
Dave?
I guess I was involved in the aftermath of the town cemetery project when a selectman was involved. There was no bidding. It was 20,000 one year, and then it wasn't done, 20,000 next year. Well, it still wasn't done, so let's throw another 20,000, still wasn't done. And it seemed like it was an unending project. I have a letter from the state that says that anything over 200 bucks has to be bid if it's a town official. Well, this was going on, an excuse was made that this was only for goods, not for services, which doesn't hold water. That was refuted by the state in a letter I have. I think the key here is we've got to talk about bonding. Every school project I've been involved with, there may be a local guy who owns a machine, but if he's not capable of bonding the amount, and of course you're talking a school, and I'm talking $9 million budgets to build a school. So the local guy with the machine becomes a subcontractor, and he could work on the school, but he's hired literally on a per diem basis. Because if somebody has a history to be secure enough to be bonded for $9 million, if they don't show up on Monday morning as agreed, the bonding company steps in. So this is not a $9 million school project, this is $250,000. But I still think there needs to be some assurance it's not gonna run away like the cemetery project. You know, and it's what I said a half an hour ago. We don't wanna do the, you know, one little piece and oh, by the way, the money's gone, we need some more. We do need a plan, which I think that you guys might have great intentions, but I don't see a plan. If I was sitting on the planning board, there'd be an easel, there'd be a plan, there'd be a surveyor there, there'd be an engineer and all this blah, blah, blah. If I get to vote on a project on the planning board, I do it with my eyes open and everything in full disclosure. Right now, if I vote for this, and I see a 5-0 for the school board, I have to do it on faith, not on something in front of me tonight. I have a lot of faith in you guys, but would be nice. But the other thing is, I don't want to lose a whole year, because if we vote for this money on faith, we're not going to lose the spring, we're not going to lose the summer. If they get their ducks in a row and get this done next year at this time, it'll be done. Not talking about proposals.
But on the other side of that, we still have to be fiscally responsible, financially responsible too.
Oh, we've lost you,
Well, you need, when you're investing the taxpayers' money in something and you're gonna invest $250,000, you can't say we just invested this on good faith. You should have something like, I mean, like Connie said that when I have the paving, I have the paving contract, you saw it from Carroll Paving, I mean, they had every detail for,
Specifics, yeah.
was it $80,000 for the paving, $80,000, they had a 4 or 5 page estimate for, right, so that's for like less than $100,000 worth of paving, they had this page and pages of details, I mean, and you're looking and saying, I like you guys, I'm gonna throw $250,000 into the wind of taxpayers' money, because I have confidence that you guys are gonna get this done. And I have confidence that, I like these guys too, but I mean, you know, from the fiscally responsible point of view, and being, you know, a business owner or anything like that, you generally don't take other people's money and just throw it into the wind just for the hell of it. In essence.
The other experience I had was public safety building. We spent $75,000 on the greatest set of plans you could imagine. It's about this big, weighs 10 pounds.
Well, Robin Frost is gone now, so we're not gonna be spending $76,000 on any more sets of plans because we took care of that problem, well.
So, my point is, we can be, you know, kind of over-planned too, and that's it. That plan was never, ever put in effect.
I would say 0, what might be slightly underplanned. Yes, Ralph?
The engineer's design is going to be an expense that's encumbered out of the monies that have already been approved out of the 75 that's already sitting in the thing. So, you know, we don't know what that engineer's cost is going to be. There's an idea, but so that's part of the monies that will be expended out of that. You know, if you have a square footage price in there, you could probably calculate yourself what 33,400 square feet of paving is going to cost.
I have a suggestion. whatever this board votes for tonight, and I know that there's school board members that want to make progress and they're working very hard, is it possible at the deliberative session that you come in with enough to convince the voters? Because we're going to make a recommendation. But at the deliberative session, this article can be just totally evaporated. If you guys come in with a nice dog and pony show and have all your ducks in a row, you have a little bit of time. I think you need some foam core and an easel, because you may have to sell this to the voters at that session. Because they may not care about our vote tonight, but they may care about whether they're going to vote for that when they get to in March.
Connie?
At the planning board, when the school came before the planning board, it was not an engineer's plan. And so it was kind of hard for the planning board to say, you know, this is the way it should be, blah, blah, blah. So that was the mistake right there. It should have been an engineer's plan. And then I think things would have gone a lot more smoothly. But I think the key is an engineer's plan has to be done, and then you can know what you're going to be spending instead of just an appropriation.
I know the RFPs that were received, they had, all three of them, I believe, had the intent to have an engineer's design provided to the school board prior, whoever won the bid was going to have an engineer's design done.
I'm sorry, who wants to go first?
I'm a
Priscilla.
Tucson state, so it's my turn.
Yeah, Dave had it.
Can I finish?
I remember
Oh,
originally
I'm
you
sorry,
had
I'm sorry,
four.
Bill.
Oh, sorry.
Thought
The,
you-
I might have just lost my point. The, I guess I did lose my point.
I'm sorry.
You said
You were
that the
saying the
bidders were gonna
RFPs
bring.
were gonna have engineers' designs in them.
Yeah, they had, everybody had provided prices that would include an engineer's design to be provided to the school board. There was still another point that I wanted to make, but go ahead, so.
Well, you actually have four people that did the walk, and one of them refused to bid on it because there wasn't an engineer's plan.
Right. Oh, and I just remembered what else I was gonna say.
Oh.
Harriman did, have some prices on an engineer's design and some prices on a survey, and that would have equaled the two of those probably would have come in around $12,000 to $13,000. So that includes a survey and an engineer's design based on Harriman's conceptual design.
Lisa, did you have a question?
I just feel like the school board is working hard to get this done, but I feel like if they were guided in a better direction, it would have had a better outcome. Only because,
I think you had some subcommittee members who totally believe in local control. And
Well, I feel
have
like
confidence that I know.
I like local control, but I feel like an expert in the field would have, you know, you start with the engineer, you start at the beginning, you know, at the bottom, and then to ask us to, you know, to,
Mine was all about the bidding process. We got a conceptual design, cost close to $6,000, never went out to bid. So from that point on, everything for me was get a bid, get a bid, get a bid. And the policy calls for 3 competitive bids when feasible. To me, it's always feasible to wait till you have that 3rd competitive bid to start it.
So I have a question.
Action.
So at this time, there's no plan, right?
This time we have, we're looking at the RFP for the engineering of the plan, so we can send it out and get a proper bid on the entire project.
Are you already sent it out?
No, we had to go over the wording because a few of the school board members we couldn't come together on the wording on the RFP. So that'll be done.
It is.
So do you have the actual plan and the picture of what the parking lot's gonna look
We
like?
do have the drawing that was provided by Mr. Fogg, and I believe that's the drawing we're going out with. This is what we're gonna provide to them. This is what we want them to engineer, if it's feasible. And then we'll come back with that and go forward with an RFP for the complete project.
Yes, Mr. Chris?
So the plan at this point is to get that civil engineering design based on Mr. Fogg's conceptual. With that design, with that civil engineering services comes a up-to-date survey, the actual engineering design, all of the proper paperwork that's necessary to file with permits and so forth, and a presentation to the planning board based on design, which I agree should have happened originally, but that's what we're doing now. And based on that civil engineering design, that's when we go out to bid for the project. And you know, on your point, Dave, coming in with a dog and pony show, on the deliberative session, we won't have that information by that time.
Yeah.
Just one more point I wanted to make. The planning board's purview is things like the traffic and all. They want to make sure that you're not, you know, they know the town and they want to make sure you're not driving all the cars down the wrong road and causing trouble like that. But a key part of the engineering plan, which no amateur can do, is the drainage, stormwater management. And you gotta pay somebody to do that. And I'm just thinking the money you have right now, you're gonna eat up a big chunk of that with all this engineering and things like that. And I don't know if just the paving is the minor part, but you know, just the stormwater management is a big part of that. So it sounds to me like you can use the money you have already to do that, what you're doing.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, yes. So we have a motion in a second, we've discussed this to death. So Article 7, all in favor of Article 7, raise your hand.
I see 3.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, good. Moving along to Article 8. To see if the Wakefield School District will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $42,000 to be placed in the capital reserve fund previously established for roof repair and replacement. This appropriation is in addition to Article 4 of the operating budget. Majority vote required. The school board recommends this appropriation 5-0. The budget committee recommends this appropriation, well, we haven't voted yet. And this has been part of the plan that was laid out 4 or 5 years ago by the school board and the building committee
A 10-year plan.
had laid this out, and there's still some money in that fund, I'm not sure how much.
103.
Oh, okay. So we want to make a motion on Article 8,
Second.
and second by Dave. Any discussion on Article 8?
Would that be the last phase? No. I'm new to the committee, so I'm not up on all the
That's
prior
only
year's
like the
history.
third. This would be the 4th phase?
Fourth, I think, is it, yeah, third or fourth.
This would take care of we completed the first phase over the summer. This would be take care of the second and the third.
Really? Oh, well, okay, I was thinking about what Steve used to call the swimming
The
pool.
swimming pool.
Well,
We don't call it
okay,
that
we don't
anymore.
call it- But that's what he called. Did you guys have a public hearing on this, to expend this money for the work you
Not.
did?
That's why you'll see that in your overall balance for the school roof is $103,000. We're gonna do the public hearing the same night that we do the public hearing for the $6,600 for the roof. So you need to subtract $57,777 from that 103.
And what line is that taken out of from the operating budget?
It's not.
So how's it paid for?
It shows encumbered on that trust line, and you request those funds from the trustees.
So the job's been completed but hasn't been paid for?
It's been paid for.
Out of the operating budget?
Out of our, I believe, out of our fund, monies we have in the bank for our fund balance.
Oh, from the surplus?
Correct.
Now, just out of curiosity on those public hearings.
Check that, Priscilla.
And then you get reimbursed from the trustees, right?
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
So-
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Right,
So we
so,
funded the
Typical.
money out of
Right.
the surplus,
gotcha.
and then it comes back in from the
Right.
trustees.
So there's 103 and you're going to take 57 out.
57,777. So those two numbers will be at the same public hearing in January in order to request those monies from the trustees.
That's confusing because all, those are all different, what you have to do to spend those. Okay, yeah.
So is this on track with the original plan?
Yes.
Any more discussion on Article 8? All those in favor of Article 8, raise your hand. Looks like everybody. Any opposed, abstentions? Article 9, this should be confusing. To see if the Wakefield School District will accept the recommendation, I would change that to on instead of full.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go.
Thank you.
They get me in trouble, yeah. Full recommendation of the SAU 64 Withdrawal Study Committee and not withdraw from the SAU, so apparently what happened.
Withdraw
From.
from the SAU.
All right. I was making words up. Give me a break.
No, you read it right.
Motion
Oh, I did?
with corrections of
You said it right.
Thank you, Connie. And who seconded that?
With the corrections, I'll second it.
Okay, but not all screwed up.
No.
No.
Screwed up.
Okay, of and for, so
No, other than from.
a couple,
From.
from,
And not withdraw from the SAU.
I have
Right.
the edits.
because a couple of years ago, we voted to establish the committee to look into withdrawing from the SAU, and they decided that we were not going to withdraw from the SAU because they were confident that Milton was gonna withdraw from the SAU, so we would, by osmosis, be thrown out of it, so we wouldn't have to do anything, and then that backfired. So I don't know if it was you guys that did that,
Osmosis.
but whatever happened, they were trying to get out of the SAU and then didn't wind up getting out of it, now they want to get out of it. The only way to get out of it is to vote to stay in it.
Huh?
So,
Well,
to
to
vote to
vote
not,
not recommend.
to vote to not
The
go
only way
along.
to,
Not withdraw from.
the only way to withdraw from the SAU,
Yes.
if that's the desire of the town, is to not accept the recommendation from the withdrawal committee.
Right.
By not accepting the withdrawal committee's recommendation, the process continues. If we accept the withdrawal committee's recommendation, the process stops.
For
You
2
have to
years.
wait for 2 years.
And it's 2 years, right?
So the school board, in its experience, is finding that it may be to the town's advantage to actually withdraw from the SAU. So we're encouraging.
It'll save quite a bit of money.
It'll save a lot of money, it'll do a number of things. Right now, we're paying 56% of the SAU's bill, which isn't, I mean, the town of Wakefield has less buildings to take care of and stuff like that. A 50-50 would be palatable with carrying the weight. Milton doesn't seem to care what they spend, you know, where they get money, stuff like that. We have a few more conservatives in this town, Wakefield, who feel as though they're spending out of control. The only way to, speak for myself, the only way to control that is to withdraw from the SAU. So the school board is encouraging the town to vote against the withdrawal committee's recommendation by a vote of 0 to 5 because we can't. How does that work again? It's all confusing.
Did we get a motion on this one? Okay.
Yes,
so,
with the
right.
corrections.
We have
With
a
the
motion
corrections.
with corrections and a second.
Priscilla,
I support the school board in this. We're diametrically opposed to Milton as far as mindset. Milton is doing Common Core, we're not doing Common Core. We're going down different paths. And the school board did their homework on getting information on a district that's very similar in size that we are, and how much they're spending for their SAU, just one town. And it looks very feasible that we could do the same. So I totally support this.
Dave?
I was on the withdrawal committee, and Milton actually had already voted. It was their initiative to dissolve the SAU, They had already voted not to do that when we made our vote. It was one of those 10-minute meetings where there was no point, so we,
But we were, the school board was asked to still investigate the possibility.
you know,
That
well,
was-
we made that decision based on the fact that Milton's initiative was dead. But it could go reverse with the Wakefield initiative. My question on that subject would be, when we look at the SAU budget earlier today, there was $868,000 comes in. We put in 500 and something. I'll throw it on 514. Where does that 868, where does that come from?
You're talking about the revenues?
Yeah.
That are, as part of the warrant language? Those revenues come in from IDEA monies, so federal grant monies that support our students with disabilities. That's a joint grant. So it's a consolidated grant that includes both Milton and Wakefield and runs through the SAU. It also includes the Bright Beginnings program, which runs through the SAU office. That's what makes up that $800,000+.
If Wakefield was independent, we would still get a share of that.
Yeah, you would have your own, you would have a separate IDA grant if you were to apply for it, which I would hope you would, to support students with disabilities. And you would take on, basically, your Bright Beginnings would just be incorporated and run through the district compared to an SAU office.
And we could run with a superintendent principal arrangement with the school.
That's up to the board.
One other thing is the reason that Wakefield kicks in more money is because we are land rich compared to Milton. It all has to do with the lakes.
It's a formula.
So one of the richest land rich places is Molten Borough. And you go look at their budget, what they build in their town and their new recreational buildings and things like that. It's just like because of lakefront property. So we're paired with a town that's land rich, with a town that isn't and has a high school. And it does seem like putting a pony next to a draft horse.
So you're saving money, but then, I mean, there's things, I mean, you have your special education that you have to take that all over, you have your curriculum coordinators, you got the SAUs doing liaison work between, like, this district and Spalding, and, I mean, are you gonna be able to get one person that's gonna be able to, you're gonna be able to hire one person that's gonna be able to fulfill all those?
In the back of this, if you receive this, in the very back pages, you have a breakdown in the far right column of what the independent SAU would expend money on. And as we went over the items that we felt were necessary, if you look all the way to the right in the columns, we're addressing a full-time superintendent as our expense, business administrator, the student services director. We would hope that there would be somebody in the new SAU, the independent SAU, that would be able to provide the services that a student service director does. All of the necessary items that an SAU provides to a school district are addressed in this far right column. All of the things that are necessary to operate. So a school district doesn't have to buy or pay for a full-time superintendent.
That's all right.
It does have to pay for superintendent service.
Right.
So we're hoping to have a full-time superintendent.
And so you're thinking, and the bottom of that 358,000 on the last pages, that's what you're thinking that, I mean, the
Yes.
grant.
That is. So if you take the 525, 757, put it above that 358, that'd be your savings. Somewhere around.
Sorry, what was that? Oh, yep, okay, yep, I got you. I understood it now. Okay.
So, okay, but I mean, and this is great, because this is positions and this is numbers and, but I mean, there's no guarantee that you're gonna be able to find, I mean, you know, that the qualified people are gonna be out there to do. I mean, that, you
There's
know.
no guarantees anywhere in life.
Well, I know that, but I mean,
I,
Because we're, see, we are experiencing the two different directions that Priscilla spoke of. If one district, one town wants to fully embrace an idea or a concept or a direction, the superintendent has a tremendously difficult job to do when another district wants to go in the opposite.
oh, I understand that, I understand that 100%, and I appreciate this, and, you know, but, like I say, you know, I mean, you know, it's not as easy to just go out and, you know, pick qualified people to fill these positions, and then you're gonna need a building or some location for them to work from. I mean, I don't know if you can have room out here to, you gonna build a SAU building out here, or you have a location in mind for the SAU office?
We would want to continue the plan if the voters reject the withdrawal committee's recommendation. So there are some things that we've considered. We don't have the answers because, you know, why come up with all of these answers if the town doesn't even want to head in that direction? You know, the school board needs to listen to what the town voters say.
Well, what's the lease on the property that SAU is now, like $1,400 a month or something like that?
It's below 30,000 a year.
So you could find a place that's 15,000 a year. And, you know, maybe you couldn't find a full-time superintendent, maybe you could find a 3/5 time superintendent that, you know, doesn't want to spend 40 hours, 60 hours, 90 hours, he just wants to do 4/5. So, I mean, there's options there, but I think it looks like a good plan.
The school board did feel as though a full-time superintendent would better serve the district than,
So the district would be just Wakefield, I mean, basically with
yes.
all school students and
One set of buildings.
what's in, Dave?
a couple of comments. One is that we don't have to run a high school. We just pay the bill for one of two choices. I work in a school that had a principal superintendent, one job, one full-time job, one office, and it seemed to work pretty good. Who prepared this budget?
We can't tell you. No, we all did. We all sat down and worked together.
Product of the school board?
Yes.
And I would be interested in professional opinion on this. Mike, I know you have to
Put
set
it on spot
aside
one more time.
set aside any personal biases you might have. What's your professional opinion about Wakefield running itself like proposed here?
I think it's feasible, and the budget was based off of a similar district, Fremont district, and I see it's feasible. I'll raise my concerns. One concern is that within this budget there isn't a cost associated with a lease or use of a facility. I think there was about a little over $1,000 that's in there. I'd be very cautious in having a conversation around the superintendent/principal position because the requirements and expectations are much greater than they were in the past, Dave. As to what you have to oversee, what you have to report. And so you would want a principal to be able to focus on the education within the building and let the superintendent deal with the politics and the state and all of that outside of the building. I think right now you're poised to potentially find a part-time superintendent because there is a large pool of retired superintendents that are looking for part-time work. However, my concern will be that that pool will dry up in about 10 years. So you might be having this conversation again sometime down the road. But as for financially, I think you could come in at what you currently pay or less. And you're going to want to have a lengthy discussion as to how you structure your own SAU.
The pools for superintendents in general in New Hampshire are going to be drying up, aren't they?
Absolutely. Currently, there's over 14 vacancies for this coming school year. Prime example, Concord. It's vacant. They've had one applicant.
That's kind of surprising, I mean,
No, it's not.
Who wants to do this kind of work?
So it's gonna take some planning, but I think it's feasible for Wakefield. And you've been talking about it for years, so
Maybe
pull
it's
the
time,
plug sometime.
maybe it's time to just do
I just
something.
Didn't you
really
say-
feel that you have to have some substantial planning involved, because it's not as easy as it might appear. However, it's doable.
Didn't you say that it was a common practice in recent years that districts are separating and
Yes.
becoming singles? So we weren't the only one talking about this, that others are talking about or doing it?
Yeah, that's happening throughout the state where SAUs are separating for smaller independent SAUs. The original intent of combining SAUs was to consolidate resources, which worked really well, and this sort of recent trend of separating, there hasn't been any indication that that's the right approach, but it is the approach that people are taking. So it's education, dynamic field. Might have a different conversation 5 years from now.
Yeah. Also, I think things change fast nowadays. I mean, everything changes fast. Any more discussion on Article 9?
Just that the thing is very confusing as it's written. And the way the school board voted, 0 to 5, I mean, the whole thing is very confusing, so.
So we want to kind of vote against this, I would say, to follow the lead of the budget, the school board.
I would direct you to do that.
But I mean,
but
We wanted to vote,
If we-
If the mindset, conceptual continuity stays there, it's, you gotta vote against it to vote for the town of Wakefield. I guess
voting no rather than voting yes would be something that the school board is asking us to do.
that's correct,
Okay.
because that's what we did.
Anybody in favor of Article 9, raise their hand. Anybody opposed to Article 9, raise their hand.
This feels funny, doesn't it?
Any abstentions? Like it was unanimous. Oh, we all voted against that. I think that's gonna be a first. Committee to be that disagreeable and happy about it. Priscilla and Ralph agreed on something.
Oh my God.
What is going on? My whole universe is out of whack now.
It's all those
Ralph?
earthquakes.
Ralph, I have to say,
Oh.
those glasses are very becoming on you.
Well,
I wasn't gonna say that.
And the case and the plastic too, especially.
Yeah,
There you
that's
go,
what I
there you
mean,
go.
yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Tursi, yes.
So
You're
just,
welcome.
just to clarify, there were 2 articles that the budget committee did not recommend. I just want to review those.
One was
Article
Article
7,
7.
so that will read, the budget committee did not recommend this appropriation,
Right.
3 to 5. And Article 9, the budget committee did not recommend this article, 0 to 8.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The other thing, now, we had gone through the budget, and then that bottom, after we voted on, I think the bottom line changed a couple $1,000s.
I have questions on the budget
You do?
before you ask for a vote on the bottom line.
Okay, and, all right, so,
Mr. Chair?
yes,
I guess I'm a little confused because you voted on the warrant that had the appropriation in there.
yeah, we did. We voted
However you
on
want
that.
to do it, I just,
Well, no, we had gone through the budget at our first meeting and then voted on the bottom line, so, the number had changed. I didn't know if we should vote on the new number. It probably doesn't matter if we voted on the,
I think you just did.
on the amount on the warrant anyway. But Priscilla said she had a couple questions on the budget, so,
But I did tell the chair before we began that.
what? Right, so if you have a couple questions, we can answer your questions.
Okay. I wasn't able to go through the whole budget for our first meeting. I think I mentioned that. But I
Okay,
got to operations and maintenance, so I have a couple questions.
What page do you want to?
Page 6.
And that's in the December 5th one, right? Yes.
Line 2610, 54,230. Last year you had $12,200 for window film that was explained it couldn't come out of the capital reserve fund because that money was earmarked and that it had to be done as soon as possible. I was wondering, did you use that 12.2 to put window film on?
54,230.
So,
It's on page 5, so.
oh, it's page 5? Yes, it is. I apologize.
Oh, 54,230, okay. We did apply film to the windows.
You did apply film to windows for that 12.2? Okay.
As to whether it was the full 12 too, I don't have an answer for you, so.
Was the building rekeyed?
It's in the process.
Currently in the process.
$4,100 was approved by the board in June to rekey the building. Hasn't been done.
It's in the
It's in the process.
Should be done, I'd say by the end of the month, January. As it came out of the mouth.
Months go way fast.
Yeah, quick as this group.
I still have a question of why you turned money back to the town for that warrant article on the land, that 13. I see that you gave us a breakdown of what was done with that 70,000, but I was wondering why you didn't use that extra 1,300 and do something with it on that land across the street. 13,225, $1,325.
We ran out of time.
You ran out of time. Okay.
The next phase started in July, which was the tree removal.
And this warrant article actually was approved the March before that, so, okay. Oh, I wondered where in the SAU budget is the Bright Beginnings teachers in Paris. Where's that listed? I can't find it.
In the SAU itself,
Yeah, in the SAU budget.
it's not listed in the operating budget. We run the monies through the SAU, so it's considered a revenue that comes in from the towns. So your Bright Beginners monies are in your Wakefield operating budget.
But those positions aren't in there. Are they? Or maybe I should say, are they in there?
No, they're not in your list of salary positions because they're SAU employees, because they receive an SAU check.
So wouldn't they have to be shown somewhere in somebody's operating budget? Their benefits and their FICA, et cetera, and their wages?
That would be in your operating budget, Wakefield operating budget.
But it's not listed in the list of teachers and paras?
It's not.
That's what I'm asking.
I'm not sure, quite honestly.
I don't see it in there, so I'm just wondering where it is.
I'm not sure if it's listed in your list for the Wakefield operating budget, but it should be.
Could you give me the names of the teachers and the paras for Bright Beginnings?
I have the teacher's names, Judy and Sarah. I believe I provided. Did you receive the breakdown for Bright Beginnings?
Did we? Yeah, the number of students, but, yeah. We received that, but we didn't receive where it was listed there, the Bright Beginnings teachers and paras. And the para's name is, do you know? Do you know?
Sandra Ernst.
Sandra what?
Ernst.
Anybody looking that up to see if their names are here?
Seen something.
It should be in the SAU list of salaries as an SAU employee.
Didn't see that either.
I'll check into that.
Okay. As I looked at the SAU budget too and did not see that. I'm doing what that, so you budget it? Have it come out with this. I don't see them in there.
Wasn't in this one, was it?
No? It seems like they got it somewhere. They'll find out for us. If they can. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, I think we covered most everything that we had to go through. We had some minutes from the meeting we had on the 2nd of December. Did you have anything else, Mr. Tursi? You all set, or?
No, I just wanted to make sure that it was in the minutes, the changes to the operating budget. We took the $495 out of miscellaneous, school board dues, school board miscellaneous, and we added $2,500 in for a trailer for maintenance here. That's why you saw an adjustment from the budget that you originally voted on to the budget that you voted on this evening.
Okay,
So
I
I just wanted
remember
to make sure that Devin received those numbers.
Okay, I remember, because it was in here about taking out the $495 to be.
Yep.
Did you get those, Deb, that change? 2,500 for the trailer and the,
Just received, yeah, I just got those notes just now.
okay.
Are you wondering where they in the 12?
They're not in our
two
minutes,
d-
but
minutes?
that was something I asked to be done and nobody wanted to vote for it, so the school board did it themselves. So that was pretty cool.
So we took $495 out of the school board miscellaneous line and
Correct.
added $25 for a trailer.
$2,500 to the operation maintenance, new equipment.
$2,505 adjustment.
Okay, I've now heard several numbers. 2,005, 2,500, 25,000.
$2,005 adjustment is what I said.
No,
So what happened?
That's,
$2,500
No.
adjustment.
There was two things that happened. They took $495 out of the miscellaneous line, which was 5,800. So they reduced that by $495.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They bought a trailer for
Total
$2,500.
Well, but that's what they're arguing about. is
But
that-
what Ralph said was there was a net change of $2,005
Okay.
because of the,
Ralph was just a step ahead again,
2,500 and
which doesn't have an offer, but
295.
give him that one.
Good with it.
It's hard to bring myself up being the rear I am.
Okay, minutes.
minutes. Did you have any changes to the minutes, Priscilla?
I do.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth column down, paragraph. Mr. Tursi noticed the budget is 0.9% over last year. Isn't that supposed to be under or
Yes.
should be under? And then the next paragraph, Mrs. Colbert wondered about retirement teachers, blah, 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 blah. He acknowledged one pending retirement and agreed to revise the longevity portion of line 3450. She also asked about the size of the overage in the substitute line. Page 2, second line, well, first and second. Mr. Tursi explained that he had decided to lower the line amount that Mr. Gregoire requested. If anybody has any,
Study level fund.
right.
Well, just at those three first numbers there, 56, 100, 57, 330, and I just was gonna make a note to capitalize those first, beginning of those supplies, new furniture and computer, just a stylistic thing, I guess. I didn't have any other, I didn't have anything else.
The last, just before budget committee, well, the inventory will be supplies to the budget committee. That was just before Mr. Mankus offered the motion. Mr. Mankus offered a motion to remove the regular education line at $4,942,950 to 34, below the amount budgeted, reducing line to 4939,509.05. Mrs. Colbert asked for confirmation that the line and any other line could be revisited. I've already given her these things, so that's why she's not asking.
I know.
Way at the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines up. Mrs. Keebler did not have an exact number of counts were up by 4. Mrs. Colbert observed that the SAU IDEA grant, not the SAU Bright Beginnings grant. That's the change. I think that's it.
Great. Any more changes?
No.
Or it's only really,
Sorry.
motion to,
Make a motion to approve the minutes with those changes.
and second?
Second.
Comment, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
I
I'll
abstain.
stay.
2 abstentions. Great. I guess our next meeting is the public hearing next year. Why didn't we have
Next month.
2014? Let's change that to 2015.
Geez, what?
Whoops. January 6th, 2015, at 6 o'clock, right here.
January 6th.
Yep, January 6th, Tuesday the 6th,
PM.
6 p.m.
Yeah, we keep flipping that for you.
I know.
And then, trying to fool you.
Just to
And
keep you alert.
the deliberative session is February 3rd, Tuesday, February 3rd, at 6 in the multipurpose room, and the snow date is Thursday, February 5th. Does anybody else have anything to add before somebody makes a motion? Yes.
Jerry, didn't you suggest we have a snow day for the public hearing of 1/9 or 1/8?
Yes, I think we
I
did.
think we need to,
Okay.
Just
Did
make note of that.
Did you,
I did, I put
post
it
that?
in the posting.
Okay,
8 or 9?
I think it was 8,
I think it was Thursday the 8th.
Thursday the 8th.
Yeah, it wouldn't have
We
been on
can-
Wednesday.
We can double check that, but I think that, had posted that case. Connie, did you have something else to add?
Not about these dates, but I just wanted to comment on the wonderful screen coming in with the pictures of all the kids and the teachers. I could stand there forever and watch that.
That's why we turned it off at recess, because it's a log jam.
Oh, yeah, yes, I can imagine, but that, I thought that was very nice.
Thank you for bringing it for a while.
Well, I'd like to say that I appreciate all the work that the school board did, and Mr. Tercey, your help on the budget, and Mr. Gregoire, and working with us and trying to explain all this. And we appreciate your help, appreciate all the work you did. Thank you for sitting in, Ralph.
That was my pleasure.
I know,
I do enjoy it.
I know. Someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Take motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Just can't give it up.